All right, Stephen Ellis, the fresh mock draft is up at dailyfaceoff.com. You go deep on this thing, but I want to start at the top. Schaefer goes 1, and you have Anton Frundell in your 2 spot.
So there's, if you want to do smoke or fire for that, for who's going to be number 2, I think that'd be an interesting one. You ask me pretty much for a month now, 2 months, it's definitely Michael Misa at number 2. But then I was asking a lot of people yesterday, like if you had to lay your life on the line and you're wrong and an alien is stealing your soul, who are the Sharks taking a number 2? And Frundell's name was the one that was mentioned the most. I still think it's going to end up becoming Misa. I know I put Frundell there in my mock because there's too many people talking about it right now. But Misa makes more sense to me. But I think the fact that there's such a split opinion that no matter who you ask to, you could get completely different answers. And if you ask scouts on Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, their answer might have flipped by now. So I think that's interesting, and we'll see. That to me is the most exciting second overall pick I've seen in a long time.
Stop hedging is what I would say. I'm just, grinding you a bit, but I think Misa goes 2 for all the smoke that's been out there. And Mike Greer is great because he doesn't give anything away, and he's actually a very difficult guy to read. So there's been lots of talk about Frundell, and everyone's been real curious, but my projection would be Schaefer, Misa, Frundell would be the order out of the chute. But then where it really gets interesting is 4 with Denoye. You have Utah picking him. Why Utah, and what have you heard about the thought process on how they view this board?
Well, you look at it, and there's, Brady Martin's definitely an interesting choice. That's one name that's been mentioned to them. James Haggins was early on, but when it comes to Denoye, you look at that top 6, and it's not a very big top 6. And you could throw a guy like Denoye who fits a role for them. They need a big centerman. He's not going to go out there and knock guys down, but he's physically strong. He's really good down the middle. He didn't actually take a ton of faceoffs at the end of the season, but due to injuries, but you still put up the numbers. And that's the thing about him. He had really solid numbers, over 80 points for a guy that had to deal with, I think it was like 3 or 4 separate injuries, according to his coach, Gardner McDougall. So how good could he have been if he was fully healthy? And I think that's what a lot of scouts are talking about here. And that's, at this point, Utah, I still don't believe they're going to use that pick. I still don't feel like they're going to, but if they are, that's the guy I'm looking at.
Yeah, I haven't heard that number 4 pick is in play. But then what about the Preds? When you listen to Barry Trotz over the last couple of days, he hasn't been shy in talking about his affinity for Porter Martone. Why do you have Martone falling to 7 with Boston?
So Martone was the guy that I originally had at number 5, but you ask around, and it's like they need a center. And you look at their pipeline, they need a centerman. And I feel like Jake O'Brien is another guy that doesn't get enough love in this draft. And I'm definitely one of the guys who probably didn't give him enough love. When you look at what this team, like for me, I still feel like Martone would be the pick I would prefer at number 5. I still think Martone at 4 would be what I would love if I was doing like best, like ranking on best available. But with Martone, it's like him and Zach LaRue. Could you imagine those 2 guys being the Bash Brothers out there? That'd be so much fun. Although Martone doesn't hit as many guys as people probably wish he would, but I feel like that's something where when he doesn't need to be the guy like he has been in Brampton, I feel like we're going to see that physical game come out because he has shown that in bunches. But O'Brien gives them a serious fit here, a serious need of they need a center. You look at their pipeline; they just got nothing going on down the middle. They've got some good wingers. That's why I went with there, and we're asking around. A lot of people were saying kind of the same thing. It's like center makes sense for them, so that's why I picked O'Brien.
So
you have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
James Higgins.
That's what I wanted to ask
of the day. You have him at 9 to Buffalo. I think there's this. Let's play a few hypotheticals out. Let's say the Islanders execute a Noah Dobson trade and they have multiple first-round picks to now deal from. Obviously, the way these first 4 players are going to shape out the part of what happens next, but how much will Utah, Nashville, Philadelphia, Boston, and Seattle all be not bluffing, but trying to leverage the situation and say, hey, we've got the pick that you're probably looking for here if you really want to come up and get James Higgins, Long Island native. What's that going to look like, and where in your best estimation for Higgins, who at one point in time was considered a top 3 talent, why 9? Why do you have that as the spot?
When you look at him, I wrote about him a couple days ago, and I pointed out that it feels like this guy is being a little bit underrated. But I know there's some people that are just concerned that he's not going to be able to handle the physical element of the NHL. He got bigger this year, but when you're looking at a lot of teams like Porter Martone and James Higgins, those two guys, let's compare those two, because I know Boston is one where if Higgins is available, you would look at that and say that kind of makes sense. With Higgins there, it's who do you win with? Who are you going to be in? Who's going to be more impactful in bigger situations? And if you pulled scouts, I think they're always going to say Mark Tone in that situation. And with Higgins, I think the one thing that kind of dropped him a lot this year is if you looked at him having not seen the exploits he put up the last 2 years where he was so dominant at the U17, U18 level, you go and watch him this year and you just think he's just fine. Now, a point per game in college as a freshman is still impressive, but it didn't feel like he dominated a lot of games. It felt like the guy that we had known in junior being able to take over shifts, he was more of a passenger at this time. And I know there's some concern about that. And I don't think he'll fall any farther than this. Like, I don't think he's available at Anaheim. And obviously everything could change here. The trade market's going to make this interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if he went as high as number 5 or number 6, depending on things. But it feels like at this situation, there's a few more fits that just make a bit more sense. Like with Seattle, I don't think they're going to take a centerman. That seems to be the only guys they like to draft. Boston, I could see it, but I don't know if Higgins is the right choice for that team. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, the other part of this too, though, is like, let's continue with our game theory because it's fun. Let's say that the Islanders get 2 picks that are somewhere in the teens. Okay. Columbus and Montreal obviously both have picks in that neighborhood. If you're the Islanders, don't you have to make this trade knowing that the Pittsburgh Penguins are also going to try and leverage their 2 picks just to try and squeeze you out so that they can move up, that they can then you can pay them the ransom as opposed to someone else?
That's the chaos we're looking for, right? Like, that's the fun. So yeah, like Pittsburgh's obviously one of those teams everyone's going to be looking at here. I know like they're very interested in guys like Eklund and Jake O'Brien and Kashawn Aitchison, and they could probably get 2 of those 3 guys in their pick. So they don't necessarily need to move, but yeah, like that makes things interesting for the Islanders if they're going to go out there and get a guy like Higgins, and they got to feel confident that that is a guy they can land. And so that's what's interesting here. And obviously the picks at Columbus and Montreal, you're not getting James Higgins at that point. So that's, again, you'll know more about the trade market than I do, but man, this is the type of chaos we're looking for.
This one I wanted to ask you about, and I wanted to ask him about you a couple weeks ago, but draft day is so cool because you hear some great unique stories. Mason West certainly has a unique story. Tell me about him.
Yeah, so this is a guy that he kind of talked about at the draft combine that he wasn't even like fully aware this was his draft season at one point. Like, he was so focused on not just playing high-level high school hockey, but also playing quarterback at the same high school. And we asked him about the draft combine, like, what kind of made you want to switch to making sure hockey is your number 1 sport? Because he is going to finish out his next year of high school quarterbacking for football. And he said, like, going to the USHL, playing like the 10 or 9 games that he played, he's like, this is where it showed. This is the sport I want to be. This is the one I want to focus on. So he just committed to college. Hey, maybe if a college football program comes around and says, hey, like, we're very interested in you too, I'm curious if he changes his mind. But this is a guy that was not on many people's radars in January, February, and now realistically could go in the first round because he's 6'6", a center. He's so hard to just beat in one-on-one situations. And he's very quick too.
How many goalies go in the first round?
There you go.
Only one should, but I'm thinking the fact that Frolov and Andrenev, the 2 goalies, have been getting a lot of attention there. I would not be surprised if we get 3 in the final 10 picks of the first round.
I think this is the perfect year. Like I said, off the hop when we were talking about the draft, my conversations with GMs in the last couple of days is it's great to have picks, but we don't necessarily love the board. And if you don't love the board, take premium positions, take guys that are hard to find and see if you can develop them.
Yeah, I'm on the board of draft a goalie every year, no matter what. Like, even if you only have like 3 picks, take a goalie because that's such an important position to have the depth in. This is a good year for goaltending. I don't think we're going to get that next year. This is the time to go and get a goalie.
All right, Steven, appreciate your time. Appreciate the insight. You can read his full mock draft now at dailyfaceoff.com. Enjoy the night.
Thanks so much.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.